And with me in the studio to discuss the empowerment of the girl child is the president of the Adekunle Child Foundation, Olufemi Adekunle. Sir, you're welcome to the program.
Thanks so much for having me.
You're welcome. Sir, let's kickstart with the question, who is a girl child?
All right, a child to start with. A child is a young person under the age of 18. Now, there are some legislations that distinguish between a child and a young person, defining a child as, someone under the age of 14 and a young person under the age of 17. But generally speaking, for the purpose of our discussion and for the purpose of, the legislations enforced in Nigeria and international conventions, a child is any person 0 to 17. And then the girl child, of course, is that child of the female gender.
Okay. So the large number of out-of-school girls is kind of worrisome, is alarming. What is your take on that?
Now that it's alarming is actually an understatement.
Yeah.
From available statistics, the number of out-of-school children, in Nigeria is a staggering 13.2 million currently, and 60% of that are girls, meaning you have about 7.92 girls that are out of school in Nigeria. This is the largest in Africa, and it becomes worrisome when you look at, for instance, the population of some West African countries. A country like Togo, for instance, is roughly 8 million people.
You can imagine.
Meaning that the population of girls that are out of school in Nigeria is the whole population of a country.
Yeah.
And if you look at countries like Sierra Leone, 4 million, you look at Guinea-Bissau, about 1 million, you look at Gambia, about 2 million. It's a combined population of 3 West African countries. So it's really and indeed worrisome. It's something we really need to do something about.
So what do you think can be done to bridge this gap? Is actually alarming.
It is alarming, and first and foremost, from the point of view of governance, from the government, there has to be an intervention. An emergency has to be declared in this sector, especially for the girl child. I mean, look at that humongous number that we're talking about. That's a staggering number of people that are out of school, that have been emasculated, and it's like their future stifled. So government really has to declare an emergency in the education sector, such that children generally and the girl child in particular receives an intervention.
Okay, sir, is the voice of the girl child loud enough, to attract attention to her plight? Is her voice loud enough?
I would say no, and lamentably so, because if you look at the woman generally, and that dovetails to the girl child, the voice of the woman is actually stifled also, and that has to do with a lot of cultural issues, religious issues, and traditional issues, especially in our climate in Africa. It is believed that the woman is the weaker sex. It is believed that the place of the woman is in the kitchen. It is believed that the woman should be seen and not heard, and so her voice is definitely not loud enough, and both externally and internally. Externally, to the extent that there has to be an intervention for the girl child, and internally, of course, the girl child too must be spoken to know that she is as human and as strong as her male counterpart.
So, sir, talking about this girl child trafficking and other forms of assaults on the girl child, these issues, they're on the increase on a daily basis.
That's correct.
And then the society is not doing anything about it.
You see, this is a serious issue, and it stems from the vulnerability of the girl child. Now, let me say this. We talk a lot about the vulnerable child, and for me, when you talk about vulnerability, that a child is vulnerable is actually a superfluity. It is superfluous. And what do I mean by this? Whether in the cozy comfort of his parents' mansion and opulence, or in the squalid interiors of the ghetto, okay, the child anywhere, anytime is vulnerable. And so when you have a child described as a vulnerable child, it's double jeopardy. It's aggravated tragedy for the child, because you now have a child inherently vulnerable declared as vulnerable again. You understand what I'm saying? So you have a situation where the girl child now becomes much more even vulnerable than her male counterpart. Now, every day in my office, I receive some papers, and one of the things that I like to read are issues, news concerning crime, and I feel sad, I feel pained every day when I read stories about 4-year-old girls raped.
Yeah, so
10-year-old, it's amazing, it's alarming.
This issue of rape
babies
is really, really disheartening.
It is disheartening.
And on a daily basis.
On a daily basis. I mean, and that's what also leads to trafficking.
Yeah.
The girl is seen as an object and not a human being. You read stories that blow your mind, and you're wondering, is this true? Can this be true? You even read about stories of parents who are the ones encouraging trafficking in their children. And poverty, again, is at the root of it. They see the girl as a meal ticket, as a way out of their poverty abyss, as it were. So it's a complex issue. It's indeed a complex issue.
With all this disheartening, these sad scenarios about the girl child, surrounding her, the theme for this year is Girl Force Unscripted, Unstoppable. I like the theme, talking about the girl being unstoppable if she wants to pursue her dreams, wants to pursue her goals. So, do you think it's a powerful cliche, actually?
It is.
So, do you think how can the girl child be uplifted with her full potentials?
No, I also like that theme, unscripted, unstoppable. And if you look at it, for instance, look at the statistics of girls or students that have the highest scores in JAMB, in SSC exams, in our universities. The guys that have first class. You see a lot of girls there, and I dare say girls even dominate this space, which tells you that the description of the girl as the weaker sex at the end of the day may have to do only with the physiology. It has nothing to do with her intellectual capacity. It has nothing to do with her potentials. It has nothing to do with her capacity and her prowess, okay? Years ago, you would have thought, decades ago, for instance, it was unthinkable that girls would play soccer. But when you watch them play soccer these days, okay, I don't want to mention names, they can actually beat some male teams.
When we say what a man can do,
a woman can do better.
Even better.
Better, exactly. And you see girls in wrestling, in boxing, doing things that are traditionally meant for the men. And so it tells you that the girl child has incredible capacity that has to be unlocked.
Okay, so the UN records shows that in nearly 25 years, more girls have moved from dreaming to achieving. Is this a sustainable feat?
Okay, instead of talking about whether it is sustainable, I think we should be talking about how it should be made sustainable. And so all hands must be on deck. Now, kudos to the international community. If you look at historically from 1946, when UNICEF was founded as a response to the World War II, impoverished children and all of that, progressively, you have seen a lot of traction on the international scene. How that the Convention for the Rights of the Child was, entered into as an international treaty in 1989. And so domestication has to take place. Happily in Nigeria, you have that convention having been domesticated into a Child Rights Act. It took us 14 years, but it's better late than never. Okay, and so government should enforce the tenets of that law and every other law that seeks to protect the child. And this is the only way we can make the rights of the child sustainable.
So there's something that is so worrisome. The girl child, like you said, she's vulnerable. And sometimes people look, okay, they say she's not well dressed, that's why she's been abused. What about those infants? These days, if you have a girl child, your cousins, your uncles, at home, the baby is not safe. What do you have to say to Nigerians? Is it about mindset? Is it we don't know? What do you have to say about that?
You see, I've heard it said and read a lot of stuff about how girls dress, and that's how they make themselves pray and all of that. Now, the truth is, while this may be true, it is an escapist theory to latch onto that as the sole and exclusive reason why girls are abused. Like you rightly said, how about an 11-month-old baby? How about
6 months old?
a 2-year-old baby girl, for instance, that is sexually abused? What has she done wrong? How badly has she dressed? Okay, and so it has to do with a lot of eccentricity on the part of men that abuse such girls, and it has to be tackled headlong. So instead of laying the blame at the doorstep of the girl child, let's lay the blame where the blame really lies. And this is a place where the laws must be strengthened in terms of its letter and its enforceability.
Okay, so on the day of the commemoration of the girl child, President Muhammadu Buhari, demanded stricter laws, to prevent girl child from being abused in schools and, across the country. What do you have to say about that?
Yeah, I mean, I just even said it. Now, when you're talking about stricter laws, now, there are many laws that actually protect the child, and in fact, the girl child. Like I said, the Convention for the Rights of the Child is an international treaty that has been ratified by many countries. As a matter of fact, that treaty was ratified the fastest, amongst several other treaties. Like I said, it took us so long because before we domesticated it into our law. Now we have it. We have the Child Rights Act of 2004, 2005. Now, the law is very robust, and the good thing about that law is even that it incorporates provisions of the Constitution, the fundamental rights provision as enshrined in Nigerian Constitution. And so for me, there is no excuse. However, and sadly so, about 9, 10, 11 states in the country are yet to domesticate that law in their domains. This should be done. And so it again goes back to, the will on the part of our government. States that have not domesticated this law should do so. But even beyond that, I keep saying, to my professional colleagues that even when they have not been domesticated, this law is a federal law, and it has the force of the Constitution, and so there is nothing stopping the applicability of this law in those other states. It's a federal law, and so we should not shy away from the existence of that law. We should do a lot more in terms of enforceability of the laws.
Yeah, thank you, sir. It means that everybody should play his part.
His part and his role
to protect the girl child. Thank you, sir, so much for coming to the studio. Thanks. We have been talking to the president of the Adekunle Child Foundation, Olufemi Adekunle, on empowering the girl child to mark the Girl Child Day.